Our club is forever grateful that you're here tonight, whether it's your fourth time or your first time. We are going to begin tonight the same way that we begin every Monday Kiwanis meeting. Soon we will have Mr. T.O. Cragwell lead us in a patriotic song, which is printed on page 3 of your program. Ryan Woodall will lead us in the pledge, and Eddie Callis will lead us in our prayer. I will then lead everyone in the Kiwanis defining statement, which is in the middle in red on your program on page 3. We will then be seated, and we will begin our program. If you would, please stand at this time.
Let's sing America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of green, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from a sea to shining sea.
Microphone is not working, so let's all face the flag. Okay, now it's on. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will you pray with me? Our Father in heaven, we give thanks to you for all the blessings you've provided for us today and every day. We thank you for the opportunity to live in this community among so many wonderful people. We thank you for our guest of honor tonight and ask your blessings for him and his family. We thank you for the meal we've been provided with tonight and pray that it will nourish our bodies in service to you. And Father, when we fail to honor you as we should, we ask your forgiveness. Amen.
Amen. If you would all follow along beside me, page 3 there in the red, I'll begin. Kiwanis is a global organization of volunteers dedicated to improving the world, one child and one community at a time. You may be seated. Thank you. Before we get started tonight, I would like to recognize some folks that are in attendance here with us. If you are former or current Armed Forces member of our military, please stand up. Thank you for your service to our country. Any elected officials in attendance tonight, would you please stand up? I would like to personally thank a group of ladies that put together these beautiful centerpieces and other decorations that you see throughout the Capitol Theater tonight. Thank you to Denise Moore, Christine New, Melinda Ledford, Sherry Clerkland, and Delane Smith for the beautiful centerpieces that we have. They put in a lot of time and effort on that, Sheriff, so they must really like you, or they're banking on a get-out-of-jail-free card. Or both. We can do both. Those centerpieces are available for you to take home tonight with a donation to the Kiwanis Charitable Fund. Please consider that as a remembrance of tonight. If you take one without giving a donation, I'm not a legal expert, but that's probably a crime. And we have a couple of guys on the stage here that we can have rectify that. Back in the fall, when we announced the roast was going to be on this night, we were trying to figure out who to roast, and we quickly located Sheriff Bryan that this is what we were going to do. And we put together a roast committee, and I asked one person to be in charge of that and drive the boat to get us here tonight. And so putting together all the details, all the behind-the-scenes work that she put in to get us here tonight, I would like to recognize Miss Melinda Bounds, if you would stand up to be recognized. Thank you, Melinda. And thank you to the other Kiwanians in attendance tonight, not only for selling tickets, but for getting here early today and helping set up, and for greeting everyone and then serving the food as well. Thank you all. It's good to see a team effort. Well, it has been a joy to be this year's Lebanon Kiwanis Club president, and as a guy that grew up in this town, it is an honor to be on stage tonight with such outstanding community servants, fine gentlemen, and Terry Ashe. On a personal level, I don't even know Mr. Ashe, but somebody gave me $100 to the charitable fund, and since this is for the kids, we'll take it. Then before the roast started, Mr. Ashe told me he just retired for Homeland Security, and I'm thinking I probably sold that joke a little too less than it should have been worth now. But for those of you who are new here, I'm going to explain the Kiwanis mission. It's an international organization. We've been local here for 79 years. And I think a lot of people, when they think of Kiwanis, they think of Little League Baseball here. That's what I remember from it growing up, even though I played in the Rotary League. But baseball is one part of what we do, and we are very proud of our history and tradition supporting baseball and now softball. But quite simply, the mission is what is in your program, impacting the lives of children in our local community. And so if you'll look in there as well, tonight's donations go to fund other organizations outside of baseball as well. Those include our local Child Advocacy Center, Wilson Books from Birth, Christmas for All, Empower Me Center, Head Start Pre-K program, our local Whip Crack and Rodeo, Girl Scouts, Wilson County Library, and Wilson County Schools. These are where your donations go tonight, and there are many ways that you can give, including at your table directly or via our QR code. Last year, our club celebrated our 25th annual Day of Prayer for our schools, started and continuously led by Mr. Eddie Callis. We reach out to the local churches in our community and spread awareness to pray for our school children and our teachers during the upcoming school year. We also raise funds each Monday meeting that we have from members via what we call Happy Dollars, where people say what they're happy for and they put money in, and those funds we've raised a few $1,000s in the last few years, and we give those money. We buy books for Lebanon Special School District and our Head Start Pre-K program. I have realized that in the fall, if people's football teams win, they tend to give more money. So I used to only root for the Vols, but now I'll let everybody get some wins in at that point too. We have our weekly meetings Monday at noon down the road at First United Methodist at Hessen Hall. We hear from community leaders, elected officials, and heads of charitable organization, pretty much anyone that's making a positive impact on our children. Every fifth Monday, if there's a fifth Monday in the month, we get out involved in the community with the service project. We have a committee that looks for needs where we can fill in there. Recent projects have included raising supplies for Camp Holloway, a local Girl Scout camp, providing lunch to Cumberland students over Christmas break that could not return home to their families, and feeding our Lebanon High School football team and letting them hear a message from some of our Kiwanians. I encourage those who are interested in getting involved, or if that is up your alley with impacting children, to please find your way down to Hessen Hall Monday, 12 noon. Our doors are always open. All right, let's roast the sheriff, folks. I am pleased to introduce our MC tonight. He is a 43-year Kiwanian. He's held about every position in the club that I can think of, including a long stint as treasurer, which I'm sure he enjoyed. He was the 1988-1989 lieutenant governor for our district, and he was the 1986-1987 Kiwanis Club president, or as the kids these days like to call that, the late 1900s. Back for his fourth year as MC and his first as a roaster, Mr. John Bryan.
Good evening. You're supposed to say good evening. Thank you for coming to the 4th annual Lebanon Kiwanis Club Celebrity Roast. And this year we're roasting my first cousin, Sheriff Robert Bryan. So thank you for your attendance. Thank you to our sponsors. Middle Tennessee Electric is our presenting sponsor. Mr. Dale Merritt is here representing Middle Tennessee Electric. Let's hear it for them. They've stepped up to the plate 4 years in a row as our presenting sponsor, so they kick us off the way it needs to be kicked off. First Freedom Bank for our catering sponsor, and our stage sponsor, Cedar Stone Bank. Let's hear it for those folks as well. We have a long list of other sponsors. It's in your program. I was going to read them until I found out that Terry Ashe has got about 22 minutes prepared tonight. So I'm going to not read all these out so we can get through, I hope, by 8 o'clock. It's exciting to be here, you know, and I'm going to talk last before Robert gives his rebuttal, but we had the Bryan reunions for years right across the street at Commerce Union Bank in the community center. And there's a lot of cousins here tonight. So we've got a lot of family here. So if you're a Bryan, if you're married to a Bryan, if you've been married to a Bryan, if you're a cousin to a Bryan, or if you've slept with a Bryan, please stand up. Let's hear it for these Bryan people. Look at them. They're in the back. They're everywhere. Our first presenter, our first roaster this evening is no stranger to this audience, especially if you've appeared in his court. Judge Barry Tatum is the General Sessions Court. He was first elected to that post in 1998. He's served this community well. He's highly involved in juvenile court, and he's got a school named after him as well. So let's hear it for Judge Barry Tatum.
Thank you for that welcome, and can you turn up the house lights a little bit? Turn up the house lights, not these lights. I'm starting to get a tan more than that. But I just wanted to be able to, for everybody to see, John just mentioned on here about how many folks are related to the Bryan family, or have been related to the Bryan family, or tried to be related to the Bryan family. But I'm not going to have you stand up again, but we also have some folks from our law enforcement community who are here. And of course, Sheriff Bryan's second generation law enforcement, his father, third generation law enforcement. Children are in law enforcement and fire department. So how many folks do we have here who are involved in law enforcement, fire department, EMTs, first responders, dispatchers? Where are y'all tonight? Okay, got a few up here. Give them a hand. Robert mentioned this. The rest of you, don't leave before Robert speaks. He'll pay you when you're coming out the door for being here tonight. So he thanks you for doing that. You know, when I first got asked about roasting the sheriff, I thought, man, this is going to be easy, because I've been collecting notes on Sheriff Ashe for years. But then when I found out that it was actually Robert, I've just got about 2 pages on there. And that's been a struggle, because in talking with folks and talking with family, talking with coworkers, from when he had his time with the Lebanon Police Department, it's hard to find anything really controversial, anything risque, anything really exciting about Robert. And that could be a good thing, but it's not going to sell any books, and there's going to be no movies made about you. So I just thought, well, you know, what can we talk about on this? And I just thought, well, what have been some of my experiences that I've had with Robert over the years? Of course, he started out with the Lebanon Police Department, came over to the Sheriff's Department, and I remember very well when he started out there one day. I knew who he was, but he was out there walking around in what little grass we have up there on that corner, and he was looking around, scratching. And so I go over and I said, hey, what's up? And he said, I can't believe it. I haven't been here that long. Sheriff's going to fire me. I said, what? And he said, well, I got this uniform shirt. It's a hand-me-down. It's got a hole in it, and my bullet fell out. But he got better and moved up the ranks. And he's always tried to improve on things. And one day I go over there to the sheriff's office, go upstairs where I don't know any real work gets done upstairs at the sheriff's department, but I went upstairs to the sheriff's department, and I go in, and Robert's got the TV on there in his office, and he's got the Andy Griffith show on. Training video. Don't ruin my joke. He's got an Andy Griffith video on, and it was that episode where Barney was really excited about something. Y'all probably saw that episode. And I said, "What are you doing?" Robert says, "Shh." He waited and he found the remote control. It took him 2 or 3 presses to find the right button to put it on pause. And he said, "I'm doing continuing education." He has since found out, having been president of the Tennessee Sheriff's Association, that that doesn't really classify as being continuing education. So they've moved on to better things for that. But he's grown into the role of being sheriff. For those of you who aren't really familiar about how it happened, Sheriff Ashe retired partway through, how many terms, Sheriff? Your 18th term, 20th term? Whatever term it was. Sheriff Ashe served the county well since as sheriff since 1982. But then he stepped down in 2012, and that was midway through his term, and the county commission appointed Robert to serve out until the next general election. And for those of you who listen to the local radio station, WANT 98.9, they're here tonight and have a table. Let's hear it. There you go. They have a Crime Stoppers ad that goes on there, and for years, you would hear, they would go through and Billy Goodman, who's been at the radio station since it came local again 30 plus years ago, talks about a crime that had been committed. A truck had been stolen or a house had been burglarized. He gives the details about the location. And then the voiceover for years that you heard was Sheriff Ashe saying, "This is Sheriff Terry Ashe. Said if you have information on this crime or any other crime, call 444-JAIL. Callers will remain anonymous." Well, when the sheriff stepped down and retired and Robert was appointed sheriff until the next election, he's been there ever since. For months, all I heard was Billy Goodman doing the voiceover. If you have information, didn't say this is Sheriff Billy Goodman, he said, "If you have information about this crime or any other crime, call 444-JAIL. Callers will remain anonymous." And I said something to Robert several times about it. I said, "Robert, you need to get out there and do that voice tag. People need to know that you're the sheriff. They need to hear your voice. You need to get out there." Robert's kind of bashful. And he doesn't use big words. Didn't realize that at the time, but he had gone out there to try to tape this thing saying, "This is Sheriff Robert Bryan. If you have information about this crime or any other crime, call 444-JAIL. Callers will remain." We ain't gonna rat you out. But that's one of the things about Robert, you gotta love him, because there's no put on about him. What he is, who he is. What you see is what you get. He's honest, and I've been knowing and been friends with the Bryan family. What are you taking notes about? He's been friends with this family for years. And remember Ms. Joyce when she worked in the business office at Castle Heights when I was there in the late 1900s, as they said. But there are good people. And but one thing about Robert, and this may sting a little bit, and that's okay. He and I do have something in common, and you probably can look at us and tell what it is. It's not our hairstyle. but it's close. We have oversized heads. Disproportionately large heads for our bodies. Yes, Sheriff, it's true. I don't know about you, but one of us was called Charlie Brown when we were in elementary school. But there are all kinds of rumors that are out there about people. If you have a big nose, it means this. If you have big hands, it means something else. But I'm here to settle this once and for all. In preparation for this, Robert and I had IQ tests done. Get yours out. The test results. And the results say that it is true that we are above average. I'm well above average. And that's why you get to go last tonight. But Robert, thank you for your service. Thank you for your family's service. And thank you for what you do for the community and being the man of integrity that you are. And I did get a little tip from Shelley on here that she says you are a really good cook and do all the grocery shopping and you clean up after yourself. I'm trying to make it as good as possible. But that if you're ever at the Bryan house and he offers to park your car, do not let him do it. Thank you.
Judge Barry Tatum, ladies and gentlemen. You know, Robert, how tall are you? 6'3"? 6'3". You can pull off a big head. You're 5'11", so there you go. Our next presenter is, again, no stranger to this audience or this county or this Middle Tennessee, or for that, the state. He was elected sheriff, as Barry said, in 1982. He served until his first retirement in 2012. Terry Ashe has written a book. They may have made a movie out of or something. Or I forget about it. It was the Three Stooges, I think, is what it was. Let's hear it for Terry Ashe.
I thought Robert was being roasted tonight, not me. Can I do this, John? I want to say hi to your daddy back there, T.A. Bryan. T.A., how you doing, buddy? And to Sheriff Tim Fuller from Franklin County, one of the finest sheriffs in the state. So thank you, Kiwanis Club, and Pam and Bob for letting them use this facility. I'm sure you charged them for it, but so I'm going to try to go through this pretty quick. A lot of stuff's happened in the last few months that y'all need to be made aware of. But the first thing I want to tell you, little brother, is that midnight comes to every Cinderella, okay? And you will turn into a pumpkin before we get done here tonight. I trust you. So everyone who's close to the family knows that his name is not Sheriff Bryan and it's not Robert Bryan, it's Little Robert. Ask his mother, ask his sisters, ask his brothers, ask his kids, ask his wife, it's Little Robert. If y'all don't know that, then you're not as hardly as close to the family as you may think you are. Because that's all we've ever called him in private, Little Robert. And do y'all remember the old TV show, To Tell the Truth? Let me see a show of hands. Hey, y'all admitting your age a little bit too. So in that show, they say, would the real so-and-so stand up? So this is a challenge for you. Would the real Robert Bryan please stand up?
Right here.
Where you at, Ed? Right over here. Thank you, Tick. So you'll know, Tick, he gets real pissed off when they get a letter that says to Sheriff Tick Bryan, okay? You need to know that right now. So I thought tonight we could give Little Robert a nickname. One, better than Little Robert. And I thought about Skeeter, staying in the insect family. I thought about Spider Bryan, Trigger Bryan, Flea Bryan, Bug Bryan. None of that fits him, but he's going to get one before the night's over, trust me. And so tonight is your night to get your own little nickname, so I can't tell you what it's going to be yet, but you'll learn this in just a minute, Little Robert. So, first time I ever saw Little Robert, his daddy was swearing me in April the 1st, 1972 in the jail. Now, I was 12 years old, but he was swearing me in. And so I took the oath, and about that time, a little young'un on a tricycle banged into the booking counter. All he had on was a diaper and poop was running out of it. He had legs, 2 or 3 years old, had legs 4 feet long. And when Cecil got done swearing me in, he said, that kid just keeps skid marks in his drawers all the time. So he pooped in the jail then, he's been pooping in the jail now, and he's still got them skid marks, trust me. But it's funny, right after that, when he hit the counter and the poop come out of the diaper, Cecil looked at me and said, oh, he ain't mine. He said, we're just keeping him till his mother comes and picks him up. And then going back to what John said and everybody else, I looked at Cecil and I said, oh, that's got to be yours, man. You can turn a tractor trailer around inside of his head. That's the biggest head I ever seen on a kid. So, and that's true, you could turn one around. But it is a trademark of the Bryans. It's a good trademark. Got to be a lot of brains up here somewhere, John. Your side of the family didn't get the head, but the other side got the head, So I knew early on why I was going to appoint Robert sheriff when I left. Everybody knows my relationship with Sheriff Bryan, the first Sheriff Bryan, as tight as we were. But to be honest with you, the reason I chose Robert is because I knew that he knew Jesus and he knew how to handle money. Because Cecil had told me a story when all these kids were small. They went to Southside Baptist Church and they went in one Sunday and Cecil and Joyce gave them all 2 nickels and said, put one in the plate for Jesus and save the other one for ice cream when we leave. So being like he is fidgety, he was going in the church and one of the nickels flew out of his hand and went in the air conditioner vent. And he looked straight up at the cross. He said, I'm sorry, Jesus, there goes your nickel. So I know he knows how to handle money. Now, there's 10 things you need to know to be a great sheriff, okay, seriously. You have to have a lot of honesty, be well-educated, be hardworking, always tell the truth, be kind to others, be God-believing, Bible-thumping, good-looking and charming. I think I just identified myself, didn't I? Now, don't worry. You got 2 of these traits, okay? You'll get the rest of them. Don't worry about it. So, the first time that I had Cecil come back to work for me, he was nervous, and he said, what do you really want? I said, I want you to come work for me. And he come up there. He said, all right, tell me the truth. He said, you got Little Robert locked up, don't you? He thought he was coming up there to get you out of jail. Now, by age 15, because I've been around the family forever. I watched him graduate kindergarten. He's 12 years old when he got out of that. So, I've been watching. But at age 15, he had wrecked Joyce's car, his daddy's truck, Mr. Pat Bryant's car, and maybe Charlie's. And then he wrecked his girlfriend's car, his daddy's car, and he hadn't even gotten a driver's license yet. So he's a dude you don't want to ride around with. He's one of the 3 worst drivers I ever rode with: Gary McFoster, Charles McQuarrie, and Robert Bryan. But listen, do y'all know that 50% of the traffic is coming from another direction? And he's got this head like this, and he can't turn and look. You're on your own now when you're riding around with him. That head's big enough, it blocks the view, but he can't turn it. So, you got to watch that. That's terrible. Now, I've seen the family mad, but none as mad as I've seen Mama Bryan. So one day she was cleaning up Robert's room, and she was looking for his Bible. and she found it under the bed, along with a penthouse and a Playboy. To hear the story. Now he thumbed, keep writing, but I ain't done yet. So she thumbed through the Bible and said, this is so sweet, and she picked up the other 2 books and the pages were stuck together. So I don't know, man, that's kind of the way that works out here. Talking about getting mad, now she's mad. Now listen, on the underwear thing, and Shelly will tell you, I mean, he skids from drawers, okay? So, but in school, he got around that. The next morning, he just turned them inside out, went on to school. So, that's terrible. I'm trying to go through this pretty quick, Ben, because I know you need to get done. Now, if he hangs up on you and you're talking to him, the phone just goes dead. How many said that happened? He don't say goodbye, kiss my butt. He don't say that. Just the phone goes dead. He got that from his Uncle Dan C., the judge, and his daddy. Never says goodbye, never says I'll call you later. The phone just goes dead. So if you get that, don't worry about it. That's pretty good. But now he's pretty sneaky. We all used to ride horses, and I think everybody here that lives here knows that. And we went to see South Fork, East Fork, Mississippi. It doesn't matter where we went, we rode. And Robert was up there at the campground at East Fork with us one time. And we all had ridden all day long, drinking all that Kool-Aid and buttermilk. So we sat around the campfire in the big camp area, and we was playing Roy D. Mercer. I don't know if y'all ever remember that. We was playing it so loud you could hear it everywhere. And Robert and Larry Bowman was sitting there, and this woman come over to the campfire and said, you boys need to hold it down now. She had on a pair of English riding breeches, and we were in a big campground, a lot of trailers, and one of them whips in her hand. And she had $1 million body and a bankrupt face. I ain't kidding you, I'm serious. And she said, y'all need to hold it down. And so we kind of calmed down a little bit. And she said, I got to get some sleep. So we sat there kind of quiet, and Robert gets up, goes down to the community bathhouse, and staggers back up through there with that Kool-Aid. And he said, I don't know if y'all know this or not. He said, that old gal down there in that trailer, she's in there naked. And just a few minutes later, Larry Bowman gets up and he goes to that bathhouse. And he comes back and he says, little Robert, there ain't no naked woman in that trailer. He said, I walked by there and looked. And Robert said, you got to get up on the picnic table next to the trailer and look in. What's the matter, man? This is for all the times you walked in my office, which is your office, and turned my pictures upside down, okay? You don't know I know that, do you? And if you call him after 8 p.m., it ain't gonna be good. Because you'll think you're in a wind tunnel, but he got this on his face. Now that didn't went over too good, except Shelly used to complain. She said it was like making love to a bomber pilot, but then she got one of them. Now there, I mean, everything's okay at the Bryan airport. Now listen, seriously, if you think this job won't turn your hair gray, you just look at Shelly's down there. See what you done? Turned her hair gray. He's also was a 2-pack-a-day man, and Barry was a 3-pack-a-day man. He still is a 3-pack-a-day man. If we're gonna roast somebody tonight, I'm gonna start on you, Barry Tatum, just a little bit. But the difference is, Barry, is I never seen Robert Bryan ever buy a pack of cigarettes. He'd bum them from everybody, including you, right? But you don't smoke 2 packs a day now. I didn't think so. So, in following in the footsteps of his mentor, C.K. Smith, Robert is the new Wilson County goat man. Him and Shelly got so many goats up there, it's unreal. And I stopped up there a few Saturdays ago to see Robert. Shelly said, well, he's out at the barn feeding the goats. She said he stays out there all the time feeding them baby goats. So I slip out of the house, and the barn's not too far, about as far as back there in the back. I go over to the barn, and I found Robert. asleep on a pile of hay with a baby goat clutched into his breast. And he was breastfeeding. I've got to go to therapy now for 2 weeks on account of that. So Robert, I want you to have something that's special. I want to get, he'll stand up here just a minute. Well, you can't have everything in here. But in 1994, I was the goat milking champion of the state. I beat Joe Bell out, which was cheating and dropping quarters in the bottom of the pail for the weight. But it says here for the supreme champion. I want you to have this in memory of my experience in your barn. This is here's your trophy. Here's your goat trophy, buddy. Congratulations. So I'll kind of close this thing up. Y'all do know y'all watch Yellowstone on TV. Those who know when they say they take you to the train station, y'all know what that means, don't you? So if Robert Bryan, Sheriff Bryan, ever asked you to ride out and check the water to 231 Bridge, you ain't coming back, okay? That is where we dumped them all, wasn't it? So growing up, he wasn't really friendly and worried Joyce to death, and so, you know, didn't play with the kids too well, so they ended up tying a pork chop bone around his neck, get the dog to play with him, but he's really done pretty good. So now, I'm going to close with this. So I found out that he has a dual citizenship in Mexico. So all you got to do is watch FaceTime or Face whatever book. Where's Moore at? He's on there all the time. There he is. So I didn't know what he's doing down here so much. So, you know, I used to have some time in Mexico. I had one of those timeshares, and I can't remember which ex-wife got it, but I mean, I had one of those at one time. So I called Miguel from Cozumel, and I said, Miguel, I said, you know Sheriff Bryan? He said, oh yeah, we know Sheriff Bryan. He a hero down here. He big man in Mexico. I said, well, I know he's 6'3". He said, no. He said, Mr. Sheriff, not his size. He said, he's a TV star down here. I said, what? Yes, sir. He said, they shooting a new series down here, and he's a star. I said, you got to be kidding me. He said, yeah. I said, what's it called? He said, it's called Naked and Not Afraid. So he sent me a movie clip from it, and it's in that envelope on those desks. I want y'all to open them up right quick. Those just got them. Open it up. Hurry up, because I'm running out of time over here. He hadn't seen it, okay? Woohoo! So, I'll move through this pretty good. Here's your copy, buddy. So that's the poster for the movie thing. So here's the deal. Sheriff Tarzan Bryan. Sheriff Robert Tarzan Bryan. Tick, I got the T in there. Tarzan. This is for you, buddy. Naked and Not Afraid. So tonight you're Tarzan. You're the missing link of Wilson County. And, you know, that's, to be honest with you, all of you, Robert's my friend.
Really?
Yeah. Might not be after tonight. I chose Robert to replace me because he is an honest man. And we're all lucky to have him as your sheriff. It's the toughest job that anybody ever want to do, and I don't know why I did it so long. I spent 50 years and 8 months in this business. But I'm proud of Robert, and I never regretted it one day that he's who I chose to replace me. So let's give him a hand. One last thing. I'm going to lay him off that easy. One last thing. All the women's asked me this, I'm going to tell them. They've asked me, is it boxers or briefs? And I said, I'll tell y'all tonight. So when I was at the house, and they wanted what your favorite color was. When I was at the house, I went in his drawer and I got them. So this is him right here, okay? It's briefs, it's pink, and it's Fruit of the Loom. There, buddy. And there's no skid marks in them. Hey, we love you, man. I better get a ride home somewhere. Yeah.
Terry Ashe, ladies and gentlemen. Robert, you picked him. Yep.
He's got a few more words.
Well, we've heard plenty about the skid marks in the drawers, so we're good now. Hey, once again, let's thank our sponsors: Middle Tennessee Electric, First Freedom Bank, Cedar Stone Bank. Our patron sponsors: A.G. and Johnson, Bryan Brothers, City of Lebanon, Cumberland University, Exit, Rocky Top Realty, C&D Team, Judy Cox and Medina Hemantoler, Farm Bureau Insurance, West Dugan, Hearthside Senior Living, Ligon and Bobo Funeral Home, Pinnacle Bank, Surefire Fireworks, WANT FM 98.9 and WCOR AM 1490, Wilson Bank and Trust, and the Wilson County Sheriff Robert Bryan. Our tablescaping girls, thank you again for these centerpieces. We are selling these. All the money goes to the Kiwanis Foundation, where we're going to help all these charities that you see in the bulletin here. So just pick somebody on the table to go home with that. 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, $50 would be good. So please make a donation and take those home with you. They worked hard on those centerpieces, and we're so proud of them. Well, Robert, I'm wrapping up the roast, and I'm telling you, known Robert all my life. Robert Bryan, Sheriff of Wilson County. It's got a pretty good ring to it. This is about my 7th roast or 8th roast that I've either emceed it or I've been the roaster, okay? And I must admit, this is the toughest one I've ever been a part of. Why? Because he's such a good guy. He's always been a good guy. Sheriff Ashe and Judge Tatum both laid out some memories of Robert that I'm sure many of us have never heard before. I know I was shocked. I really struggled with digging up anything on Robert. You know, like I said, he's my first cousin. I've known him all my life. He's just a great guy. Before I go any further, Sheriff Ashe stole a lot of thunder tonight. One of the thunders was recognizing my father. T.A. Bryan's in the back. He's been in the club 62 years. He's 90 years old. He and Mom celebrated their 69th wedding anniversary March 23rd, 4th, 5th, sometime in March. But let's hear it for T.A. and Gene back there. Dad wears a hat most every day at the pavilion, and it's re-elect or let's keep Robert Bryan, Sheriff of Wilson County. That is his only really favorite hat that he wears, but he loves Robert, and every time Robert or one of the friends or family of the Bryans come by, he just lights his day up. And so T.A., good to have you here tonight. I'd let you have the microphone, but we're going to get out of here in about 20 minutes, so we're going to not go there. Getting back to Robert, squeaky clean. As a kid growing up, he was just a good guy, just really squeaky clean. And with cousins like Tick Bryan and Jimmy Carter Martin, I mean, he had to be clean. So, as was mentioned previously, Robert's late father Cecil was sheriff, and my uncle when I was a kid, and those were some really good times. You know, I used the line, but officer, the sheriff's my uncle, and when Robert was elected or appointed and then elected sheriff, I've pulled the sheriff card out many a time. Never has worked. But back when we were growing up, you know, they didn't have daycares. Charlie, do you remember daycares when we were kids? Well, we didn't have daycares. So Saturday morning, Mom or Dad would run by the jail and drop us off to play in the drunk tank. So we had jail care, basically. And even then, Robert was a good guy. He'd be the one when we would throw the murder ball, playing dodgeball in the drunk tank, and we might have happened to hit a drunk that had been there that night, and Robert would be the first one to help him up off the ground. And that's the kind of guy he was. How many here remember the show Hawaii Five-0? That's an oldie but a goodie. We, at the Bryan reunions across the street at the Commerce Union Bank, we played Hawaii Five-0 when they were talking about the Bryan Cemetery. So all the cousins would go down and play, and Jimmy or Tick or my brother Tommy or Charlie would be McGarrett, and McGarrett was the leader of the Hawaii Five-0, and Robert was always Dano, the good cop. And even back then, he wanted to be a good cop. When he first got appointed back in 2012, I'll never remember, we were riding down 109, and I got word that Robert, the county squires, had elected him to replace Sheriff Ashe. So I called Robert immediately on the phone, and this is a true story. And I mean, everything I've said has been true, but maybe not Terry or Judge. But anyway, I speak the truth, because I am a Bryan, right? Yeah, okay. It runs in the family. But I called Robert and said, hey, cuz, congratulations, so proud of you. I know Cecil's tickled to death, smiling down on you, and I'm just so proud of you. But I got a ticket last week, and we ain't starting that crap. So integrity through and through with cousin. He's accomplished a lot in his 13 years of service to our county. Through all those accolades, he's always been modest. Never once has he gotten the big head. Of course, his head couldn't get any bigger than it already is. I cannot tell you how many times one of the sheriff's friends or colleagues have tried to get him a hat that would fit that jug head. And I said, I found that kind of amazing that there's not a hat out there that fits you. And, there's a thing called Amazon. Now, I'm opening this. I hadn't seen this thing yet. I think we got some here. I don't think it fits. It's an XL, but it's not because of his ego. It's because of the size of that melon. So, but you can have that, and you go back to the office and put a star on the front of it. You feel free to ride that around. The Bryan family has been involved in law enforcement in Wilson County for many years. As mentioned previously, Robert's father, Cecil, was sheriff from 1968 to 1974. Robert was born in April of 1970, and his younger years were spent at the sheriff's office with his brothers and sisters and several cousins. Bryan's grandfather, Jimmy Pat Bryan, served as chief deputy for the late Sheriff Harold Griffin in the early 1960s. Daddy Pat later became the committing magistrate, today known as a judicial commissioner, right, Sheriff? And was responsible for issuing arrest warrants from the front porch of his house on, what's that street? Spring Street. Robert and his wife Shelley, married in 1991. They have 2 sons, Logan and Austin, and 6 grandchildren. Sheriff Bryan is a member of the Tennessee Sheriff's Association, where he previously served as Vice President of the Board of Directors, on the Finance Committee, School Resource Office Committee, Sabin Committee, and the Legislative Committee. In 2022, he was elected President of the Association by his peers and recognized also in 2022 as Sheriff of the Year by the Association. He currently serves on that board for the Tennessee Sheriff's Association. Ladies and gentlemen, our man of the hour, the 2025 Kiwanis Club Celebrity Roastee, may I give you Sheriff Robert Bryan.
Oh, me. Wait, hang on, my phone's ringing. Yeah. Hey, we gotta go. See y'all. Is Christy and Paul Stum here somewhere? Christy, I'm gonna need some blood pressure medicine, okay? I've been attending these roasts for several years, like John says, and seen many people get roasted. And I've always sitting out there in the crowd where I was sitting right there and said, I'm never going to do that. And here we are. When choosing who was going to roast me, I picked these three fine gentlemen. They were fine gentlemen. Because I thought to myself, I need to find the right people. And I think every one of them mentioned the word, they couldn't find too much stuff. Well, that's probably the most truthful thing they said tonight. But the main reason why I picked them is I thought, I don't even know how much time we got. We got 30 minutes. I ain't gonna be up here for 30 minutes, I'm gonna tell you. I picked them because I thought they would talk the whole time about themselves and I wouldn't have to say a dang word. And the biggest part, I picked these three because I knew they would not. First of all, I knew they would not want to piss my wife off. And I know they would not want to piss my mama off. And I think they'd done okay. They could have probably done a little worse, but Mama, Shelley, we good? Good. Don't get Mama mad. And by the way, Lance, BJ, I need a car station right here on this corner, that corner, and that corner, and these three's not leaving. And that guy over there in the orange jumpsuit, he goes first. And they stole my thunder here, and I'm gonna say it again because it's worth saying, okay? They did steal my thunder here. And I think all three of us said something about this. When you mentioned the Kiwanis Club, Mr. Cragwell stood up here today, and he sung. And Uncle Tommy back, I was gonna say the same thing. You can't say Kiwanis and them two without them being together. So Uncle Tommy, thank you for being here. Again, Mr. Cragwell, P.O., where's P.O.? I saw him somewhere. Thank you. Oh, I'm gonna say something. I really don't appreciate what these guys did to me. For the past 2 months, I think, 3 months, they've been reaching out to my family to try to get dirt on me. Is that not true? They didn't give you none. Well, Mama, yes, I did wreck Mama's car. I did do that. I promise I did do that.
You never got in trouble?
I never got in trouble. Mama took care of me. Little Robert. All right, Judge Tatum. Apparently I need to go out to the radio station and fix the advertisement. Do I? Do I need to change the Crime Stoppers line? Okay. By the way, your pants are unzipped. But I know for a fact Judge Tatum was really digging with my family, trying to figure out. I know for a fact, and they've already told me they didn't give you nothing. No, everybody don't know that Judge Tatum is a firebug. Did y'all know Judge Tatum's a firebug? Okay. He likes burning broom sage off a pasture. And that's what farmers do. They burn the broom sage, get it away so they have a good hay crop. But he likes doing it when it's windy. He done it last year, I think, and I was getting calls left and right. You know, WEMA, fire stations. I mean, just go out there and put it out. They get it out. So here about 2-3 weeks ago, my phone goes off and it's Judge Tatum. It was windy as heck that day. I knew what he wanted. He said, I'm fixing to burn this field off. I said, Judge, you don't need to be doing that. It's too windy. He said, well, I really need to burn it off so we can get ready for hay season. He said, okay, I won't burn it off. And apparently right after he hung up, he said, right now. Because that night at 9 o'clock, it was dark outside. I was in bed, and I don't wear one of them sleeping machines, okay? I do not wear that. I used to. And yes, my wife wore them too, but not no more. And we did sound like it was one of them 2-seater jets. Yeah. And so he didn't call me this time, he texted me. He said, well, it's 9 o'clock at night, the wind's gone down a little, I'm gonna light it. My phone started going nuts. He lit it. I think everything turned out all right. I just rolled over and went back to sleep. I didn't want no part of that. That's the only thing, I'm saying the only truth here. I'm truthful. Every one of them said I was truthful and honest. And honest, truthful. Speaking of Sheriff Ashe, he's always told me about judges. For years he's told me about judges. And you remember what I'm saying. He said, when these judges put on them robes, they go crazy. You not always said that? Stand by. And he said Judge Tatum was the worst. A few years ago, I'm not going to get into particulars, one of my court officers called me and says, Judge Tatum, well, actually, he said, Judge Tatum has gone crazy. He said, he's ordering us to take a detainee to the downtown office of one of the state agencies. I said, what? He said, he's ordering us to take his detainee straight to Nashville and dump him off at the main office for the state agency. We had order. We took him down there. We get out and we lead this guy into this big old state building, and all these people are looking at us like, what are you doing? Walking a guy in there with handcuffs. I said, Judge Tatum told us to bring this, we got an order to do it, so we brought that person on down here. And I was told to give this person to the commissioner. So I need to see the commissioner. And I'm not naming the agency, by the way. And here comes the commissioner walking down, and I said, here, he's yours. And they said, who sent him down here? I said, Judge Tatum. And they said, Judge Tatum? Judge Tatum from Wilson County? That crazy judge down there? I said, yeah, he's yours, I'm leaving, bye. True story. But he done the right thing. That's what he should have did. I'm just wondering if they wear clothes up under them robes. I can't figure it out or not. But yes, we both have big heads, but mine looks bigger because I got hair. All right, let's talk about this $1,100. Thank you for buying the cheesecake, by the way. You know how many of them darn cheesecakes I bought? A bunch. I've never eaten one. What's wrong? My daughter-in-law's looking at me funny. Oh, okay. And I've bought, ain't no telling. You know, I used to be a detective. I was a pretty good detective. Put murderers away, rapists, robbers, done it all. And I got to worrying about these cheesecakes. So I done a little bit of detective work. I started going around to Publix, Kroger, Al's, Cash Saver, probably more, Walmart. And I done me some investigating. And I done a photo lineup. And I presented that photo lineup like a good detective would do, and they quickly picked out Judge Tatum. He buys them cakes from these stores after the dates out of them, take the stickers off of them. The one you just bought, check for all that sticky stuff on that box. I'm done with you for a little while. Sheriff Ashe. Sammy Hatcher told me to tell you former Sheriff Ashe, I'm sheriff. That's what Sammy Hatcher told me. But once a sheriff, always sheriff, okay? I appreciate you being here. But you said one thing that says a good part about being a good sheriff is to be truthful and honest. You was all truthful about everything you said a while ago. And them underwear right there, what size are they? I probably ain't gonna wear them. Won't wear them. Is my pants zipped up? Terry's known me a long time, long before I got into law enforcement. I can just imagine the horror stories him and my father and my brother and my family had in my younger years. I'm gonna say most of them are probably, only wrecked Mama's car. True. But during my time with Terry, he always said certain things you should never do, and I've heard him say it. There'd be, this roast has been going on for years, okay? Not just the Kiwanis, I think, John, several other civic leagues had it, library roast, different things like that. And it'd be in the Democrat or the Wilson Post the next day with the pictures and everything. And I always heard Terry say, I will never do that. And he looked at me and said, you should never do that. Well, heck, here we are, both of us up here. Yeah, here's a good one. Terry'd always say, the whole time he was sheriff, and he's right about this, okay? He says, he come in the morning, and as soon as you break that threshold of that door, y'all listen to this. Nobody says good morning. They don't. As soon as you walk through that door, they tell you everything bad that's happened over the night or the past weekend. They do. And that's true. But I'm going to say something. I've never heard Terry say good morning. Do I not say good morning? Thank you. But he is 100% correct. You hear all the bad stuff. Terry Ashe, he could kick a trash can from here straight through that door. And not miss a lick. He could kick it. And I was jail administrator at the time, and I was taking care of the budget and different things like that, and our trash can budget went and I said, Terry must be kicking trash cans again. And but he was good at it. So what we did at the office, we hid all the trash cans. We couldn't say that to him. We didn't want to say that to him. We just hid all the trash cans. So when I took over as sheriff, I was walking down the hall and I had a bad day, probably shouldn't have done it. I kicked the trash can. I couldn't hit that hole. Mine went straight up and busted a fluorescent light in the ceiling. And tell you the truth, Terry kicked so many trash cans. He's always complaining about foot pain and he's walking around like this. That's probably what's wrong with his foot. All right, John Bryan.
Time to go.
Time to go. And it's hard. We're kin. It's hard. We might as well be kin. But he's known me since I was born. But while I was sitting here, it was today or yesterday, I was sitting in my office going, what am I going to say about John Bryan? And WANT radio, over here somewhere, it plays in my office. Remember, your radio station plays at my office, okay? It says, and it's John's THW insurance commercial. It says, here's what he says. He says, I spend a lot of time while I'm driving thinking about my family, my kids, my grandkids, and insurance company. Well, what he left out, he's thinking about how he can pawn something off on his cousin Robert. When John calls, I always have to put my guard up. He's right about the ticket, which we don't get involved in. If he says he's got a good idea, I know he's wanting something.
Usually right.
Yeah. Yep. Just like last week, you know, John's takes care of the rodeo. The rodeo that happened last weekend. He's one of the group that oversees it. And every year he calls, wants security and different things like that, which is fine. We do that. We take care of it, ambulance and things like that. And thought I had it all worked out. Then my phone rings again. And it's John. He said, I got an idea. I said, no, you don't have an idea. He said, you know, I'm going to hand this rodeo off to somebody else, and I hung up on him right then. Uncle Tommy raised 3 fine men. I call him Little Tommy. He's been successful in sports and broadcasting, Wilson World, media, done a great job. Tick Bryan, successful, city councilman, and just great people. And by the way, Tick, I got to tell a story. Where's Tick at? Right here. The real Robert Bryan standing right here. When Tick decided he was going to run for city councilman, I said, oh, no. Not that I didn't want him to get it. I had to make sure he didn't put Robert Bryan on the ballot. And I called him, I said, make sure you put Bryan on the ballot. He said, why? I said, just do it. Don't ask no question, just do it. And it got you elected, didn't it? And then, you know, little Tommy, Tick, John, successful, been in several ventures, I mean, you name it. And he was in the insurance business, got a great family. I'm still trying to figure out what John's going to do when he grows up. I think John would have been, he needs to try a used car salesman. He'd be a great used car salesman. Right, Lee? Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, I know I'm not too controversial. I'm glad y'all couldn't dig a bunch of stuff up on me. And I hope you enjoyed tonight, but my daddy always said one thing. When you got a crowd this big and they're all looking at you, and you got their attention. And I was somewhere yesterday and somebody asked me, are you running for sheriff again? And I said, oh yeah. Well, I'm running for sheriff again, and I've got all y'all's attention. Election's next year. I appreciate your vote.